We recently showed you how North Carolina failed to identify landslide risks in most western North Carolina counties before Helene. We've also learned survivors in places where scientists finished that work didn't even know the potentially life-saving information existed.
In this latest installment of our Lost Ground investigation, WCNC Charlotte's Nate Morabito learned of yet another safety gap exposed by this unprecedented storm, Nate.
Yeah, as we told you last week, North Carolina's landslide mapping program hasn't always remained a priority for lawmakers, which likely made the state's deadliest disaster even worse. But we've also learned both the state and local government could have done more to educate the public about this critical resource before Helene in those limited counties where it was available. Now, mapping historic landslides matters because landslides tend to happen near where they've happened before. State geologists published maps online in 2021 of completed counties, including Buncombe, for example. But a landslide survivor we spoke to said he only learned of those maps the day after Helene. Now, if he had known sooner, the map would have shown he already lived in a landslide deposit, an indicator of possible future activity on his property. UNC Asheville researchers told us survivors they've interviewed have shared similar stories.
A lot of people were really thoughtful about where they moved and did the research, more research certainly than I would have done, and were taken by surprise.
We had a bunch of holes kind of overlap, and then we got kind of the situation that we saw where people had no idea they had risk and were impacted. Some people died.
Well, tonight at 11, you're going to hear from one survivor about what he wants to see change, and you're going to hear from the people who can actually do something about it to see what their responses are. And I'm going to tell you, a lot of times you get tips from viewers, sometimes from curiosity sparks an investigation. In this case, I'm going to give credit to meteorologist Brittany Van Voorhees, who was concerned enough about this issue, who cared enough about the people of Western North Carolina to say, hey, you really should look into this.
Well, Nate, I appreciate you because I think I wouldn't have even pitched it to you if we didn't have good people in the newsroom that I knew would do a good job. But it was with Caitlin and Paige, the two you just saw, research from UNC Asheville. I was on a post-Helene weather and landslides conference, just learning about what they learned, what they're trying to get better. And as they were talking about their research and the lack of understanding of some of these people even knowing they were at a risk, my jaw kind of just dropped and dropped and dropped further. And then as soon as they started talking about the mapping being done and getting cut and how people didn't know. And Asheville is an area that's known as like a climate haven. There's a lot of people across the country who kind of assume that the weather is always relatively mild. So it's really unfortunate, but stories like this just shows why they're so important. So thank you, Nate.
Well, and thank you for bringing it because people need to know about this because it could be a life-saving resource.
Thank you.
Yeah. It just goes to show you folks, you can always reach out to our team too.
Yeah.
Please do.
We're going to look into it for you.